What's up, guys? My name is Will. This is the Extra Point Podcast with the College Football Experience. Obviously, my name is Will. I'm here with a special guest, Cody. We are here to give you guys the Gator update. If you've noticed this past few episodes, we're trying to break down some teams, give you an update, kind of what's going on in the springtime, maybe give you an update on the recruiting classes or coaching changes, and everything that's kind of going on with some teams right now. With that being said, we do have a special guest. Y'all have seen him before on here. He's been on several episodes. Cody, how are you doing? And how excited are you to talk about some Gator football tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I hope you are. It's always a plus when you can talk football, but especially when you can talk the Gators. So I'm excited to get this episode started and see some of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, man. Spring practice actually started last week, so we
Mm.
are a little behind, but they're out for spring break right now. Um, before we kind of get started talking about Billy and his third year as the Gators head coach,
Mhm.
first thoughts of spring practice thus far, man. What are your thoughts? You've kind of probably been looking on Twitter like me and
Mhm.
getting on the boards and seeing it, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean it's looked like we've seen the last couple of years so far. A lot of fake stuff going around that you got to be careful with. But
Yeah.
everything that I see is look pretty good. Seems like Billy's got his plan in motion, and I'm excited to see some of these young cats. And you know, seeing DJ there is a shock. It still doesn't feel real sometimes, but it's looked good. Like I said, it's just beginning, so it's hard to tell right off the jump. But definitely something that gets our blood pumping with it being so long without football. So any kind of practice, any kind of just seeing them in uniform is good sometimes.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm a quarterback guy. I think the Florida Gators fan base is quarterback heavy in general. I think
Mm.
just seeing DJ out there just helps. He's there.
Oh
We don't
yeah,
have to worry about it no more. He's there.
oh yeah.
Uh,
At least for a year.
yeah, yeah. We got him for a year at least. Well, with that being said, man, let's kind of jump into this. Let's kind of start with this first point. Billy, we're coming off of a 5-7 season last year. Kind of disappointing how we ended it.
Mm.
We came so close to winning 7 to 8 games, man, but we just couldn't finish it out. But we are going into year three,
Yeah.
so we got Billy's guys in here. Um, he kind of said it himself in his press conference. All the systems are built. This is the best he's felt going into the spring practice.
Mm.
He felt like his workload is kind of taken away from him because they've added some pieces to the puzzle to help him out,
Mm.
which I'm happy to hear, man. So going into year three, man, what are your kind of what do you want to see from Coach Napier, and what do you think we need to kind of be focusing on to take that next step in year three?
Yeah, so for me, I look back on last year, and obviously you fall extremely short of the standard, and I think a lot of people around the nation tend to forget, kind of what Billy stepped into, um, but also what he's dealing with now, and if you look back, no team in the country had more, freshmen appear in the games as we did, and you know that's crucial. You got a lot of talent, but those guys are still young and definitely played a part. I think he's got 68% production coming back this year, which is 300 starts. Um, and for me, it's to see year three is huge as far as it felt like last year with the 50-50 games, we were always on the wrong side of the ball with that, and luck plays into it, but also, there's so many other factors. So for me, year three is big on winning those 50-50s, not coming close at, when you're at Missouri, top 10 team in the country, and you fall short, or Arkansas with a late field goal. Those are the games that we have to, you have to win. I know Billy knows that, and I'm looking forward to seeing just more, the roster being fluid and the pieces that he's brought in to be able to contend with those games, even as hard as the schedule is.
Yeah, you mentioned the one possession games. It kind of felt like our first year we were having to get back in the game to make it
Mm,
a one possession game. And then last year I felt like we were winning the one possession games and we let them slip away.
yeah,
So for me, it we got to win those games. So let's take the next
mm,
step to win those games. And also just the procedural stuff. Let's
sure.
line up. Let's get that right. Let's get on the field. Let's get 11 on the field. Let's not do
Mm,
dumb penalties. Let's not, like how they kind of played in that Florida State game and all the emotions kind of affected them. Like, let's
yeah,
control ourselves in those games. And I think if we can do the simple stuff right,
mm,
we can be a really good football team. Because
sure.
I think offensively, we're pretty talented. I thought Graham Mertz and Ricky and all those guys did a great job. I think we got to figure out the offensive line a little bit. We're moving
Yeah.
some guys
I
that played
mean,
tackle
well,
last year into guard.
yeah, and I mean the line was hurt bad, man, and one may say it's an excuse, another may say it's a problem, and to be able to do what they did with that offensive line, especially Mertz and the receivers and all, I mean, you got guys hurt. You brought in guys that you thought were going to play that didn't end up playing. And I think when you look at the portal and what he's brought in with Dixon and Dyke and them guys, like you can tell he's definitely trying to key in on the positions of need, but also he realizes like it starts up front, and he wouldn't have two offensive line coaches if he didn't think that. So I definitely think that's going to be an improvement this year for sure.
Yeah, I do too. I think we had some guys playing out of position last year. We brought
Mhm.
in an offensive lineman from Alabama. He's a guard. He had
Yeah.
to play tackle. He's not comfortable out there
Mhm.
because we had guys leave last second for family issues, and
Yeah.
we brought some guys in who just were kind of turd heads who probably shouldn't have been on the team.
Yeah.
uh, kind of like they were wanting to leave after the third game, and we had to talk them off the cliff.
Yeah.
So the offensive line, I think, will improve, and I think that's going to help tremendously
Yeah.
because it just affected us as a whole. Like we just couldn't have explosive plays because of it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, man. I'm ready to see kind of what he does with the wide receiver group as well.
Mhm.
Um, he has a bunch of guys coming back that are just unproven right now,
Yeah.
but they're talented. You got obviously you got Trey Wilson, and you got then Khalil Jackson coming, and
Yeah.
then you got a bunch of host of young guys coming in, and then you got Dyke coming from Wisconsin. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what he does with the offense this year and kind of how he incorporates DJ Lagway a little bit.
Sure.
It's going to be a fun year to
Mhm.
see how he does all this, and I bet he feels better about this group of guys than probably he did when he first got there.
Oh, for sure. For sure, and, it's another thing to keep in mind too, so many people, you know, have their opinions on the play calling and how the offense runs and this, that, and the third. They love being those couch coaches, but the reality is, man, you know, he's got his set, strengths and what he likes to do with the ball, and we know it's run the ball, and if your O-line isn't good, it's gonna struggle. So to be able to see that, and like you said, I think, the O-line is gonna be better, but one of the biggest wins that he had all offseason was getting Mertz to come back, because not only did Mertz play amazing last year and way better than most thought, but to be able to lean on that guy that knows your offense, that knows, you know, how the standard is, that can be a vocal leader, I think that's gonna be, it's gonna be huge. And for that wide receiver group that is young, for him to be able to just be that captain and say, here's how we rally, this is what we do. And then on top of that, like you mentioned, Dyke, bringing in a guy that he really knows from Wisconsin, I mean, it's going to be crucial. And, Billy knows the fire that this rumbling behind him, and he knows how hard that schedule is. And I think you'd be stupid to say he's not doing everything he can to make sure, you know, he's put in a good position this year.
Yeah, you mentioned Graham Mertz. He does come back this year, which was huge for us.
Mm,
Him coming back, especially because you got I mean, really, your only quarterback that you really kind of got right now is DJ.
yeah.
We did bring in another transfer. Uh, And so we do have 3 or 4 quarterbacks right now, but Mertz
Mm,
coming back to lead this team will be huge.
for sure.
Honestly, a stat that came out the other day, I don't know if you were surprised by this, but I was. He's the first quarterback in 4 years to come back. So we've had a new quarterback
Yeah.
almost every year, man. So
Yeah, and I
uh, I,
mean, and there's been no consistency there in at that position. You know, we think about Trask, but he wasn't there the whole time as far as starting. You know, you look at AR and then that situation, and with Emory, and it just you can go down the line, and it just hasn't been a consistent feel. You know, as it is right this second. You know what I mean? So it shocks me, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me knowing kind of how we know.
you talked about his biggest win of the offseason was bringing Graham back. I mean, I could agree with that. I think this is big. You're bringing back the most important position. It's so funny. Me and you got to talk to somebody recently about Graham Mertz, and when he first picked him up,
Mhm.
even kind of his own brother was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure
Yeah.
Graham was the right guy? Are you sure? You sure you don't need to go get somebody that can run around a little bit?" And Billy was like, "No, this
Yeah,
is my
and
guy. This
but
is
that's
who
how
I'm
the ma
going with."
yeah, and that's how the majority of the fan base felt as well. You know, they look and saw I think they
I
saw
was
all the
too.
options out there, and they think that he just kinda was lazy with it. But if there's one thing we learned about Billy, especially, you know, the things you hear and the things you see, is that he's not lazy, and in fact, he spends more time evaluating. I think that's one of his strengths, is that evaluation, because it's proven. Every guy that he's bringing in, that is he's saying, "This is what I want." You look at a guy like Ricky, and Ricky Pearsall is just shooting up draft, you know, I mean, a guy that most would say, he went and got this guy from Arizona State, and he just got him because that's who he, was looking at, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's been huge, and it's just like you go down the line, and everybody that he's pinpointed has been crucial for the Gators, and Mertz is a
You know,
perfect example.
at this point, man, I'm done. I will not question the
Oh, yeah.
guys that he brings in because
Oh, yeah.
I mean he proved it right with Ricky, and
Mhm.
then I think even me and you were like a little questionable about Graham, but then I think we were also like, you know what? He knows more than we know.
Oh, yeah.
He's watched the tape. He knows how to coach quarterbacks. So if he trusts him, then I'm gonna trust him.
Exactly. Especially
And
especially at that position.
yes, especially at that position. So I was a big Graham Mertz guy last year.
Yeah.
Me and you got to watch him live. Super tough is probably my first
Yeah, he
thing
is
that I
tough.
love. I mean, dude, he just got hit, 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 and then he just kept getting up,
Sometimes
kept
he's
giving
too
up.
tough. I mean, you see
Yeah, I
with
mean,
that injury he had.
he ran over somebody in the next play. He finally felt it, and he had to get out. He didn't even want to get out.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So
was that number 15,
props.
it just does things to
Yeah,
you, man.
just brings Superman powers to you or something. But happy Grant Mertz is returning. We also have a defensive coordinator coming back, which is good. Young guy, Austin Armstrong, in his second season. I think we kind
Mm,
of hit a roller coaster with the defense last year. Uh, I think we kind of started pretty good, and then we just slowly just kind of go downhill, and then we'd have a good
mm,
game, and then we'd go downhill again.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on him coming this year, second season? What are you kind of looking for in the defense? And what were your thoughts of his first season?
Yeah, for me, I think, he's definitely a young mind. A lot of people rave about him. I think you could tell his impact from the jump. Billy bringing in Ron Roberts, kinda tells me that, he's gonna help mold, Armstrong, and it seems like, you know, Billy has said itself, like, it's a mentor type, relationship. So, I think Armstrong is gonna do everything in his power to prove that those guys, on the defense can play, and that he knows what he's doing. I think when you look back last year, obviously, the 5-game losing streak hurts, and in those times, they averaged I think they were getting up like 38 a game in those 5, but the competition was a lot stiffer too. So, you know, Armstrong's getting the pieces that he wants. It's important to remember that every coach has their types that they like, and you can tell the speed that's there, but also you could tell where he needed help, and bringing in Asa Turner with the safeties, and just being able to key in on his scheme, I think is going to be huge. And I'm excited, man. I think just talking to other coaches, and one specifically that knew Austin pretty good, said that, he's a jam up dude, and he's got a lot of fire to him. I think that's something you need on the defense. And I think it's going to be a lot better this year, man. He lost some key pieces for sure, especially on the DL. And trying to mold that linebacker group is going to be huge, but I've got all faith in him, man. And like we said before, if Billy wants him, I want him. And I'm going to ride him until, he just proves me wrong. So I think there's a lot of worse choices out there. And for me, if with this schedule, will prove everything on all position groups, not just the defense, the offense, the special teams, everything. With this schedule, you're going to find exactly, who you are. And I think at the end of the day, Armstrong's going to be on the good side.
Yeah, the worst schedule ever, hardest schedule ever. But for me, man, also one thing I just want to see the defense flying around,
Yeah,
people doing their jobs, people making open field tackles. And I want to see us get better as the year goes on.
sure.
Um, I think we addressed some of the problems last year. I think we had some internal problems that maybe we just don't know about, or maybe we just hadn't heard about.
Hmm.
We addressed some of the coaching. We had to go in and make some changes. Uh, we had to get a new DB coach, Will Harris. We got him from the Chargers.
Yeah.
We had to get a new DL coach, General Chapman. We got him from Tulane. He does have experience in the SEC.
Hmm.
And then I was really interested in his title when they announced him, Ron Roberts, linebackers and head coach of the defense.
Yeah.
I was a little unsure about that title, but now that he's explained it, I get it. I do think this is going to be something where him and Austin are going to be talking about the plays, what they're going to call next, and I just think
Yeah.
Roberts is just going to be kind of there to help him, especially
Yeah.
with in-game adjustments and
Yeah, and I think, you look at the way Billy does things, and bringing all those different staff members in, and Spur can say what he wants to about, he doesn't understand it or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's a team sport for a reason, and you can't just rely on one guy. And I think Napier realizes that what Ron Roberts brings to the table, what Armstrong brings to the table, and having those two minds clash and bounce off of one of another is helpful. And Napier said himself, we're getting a guy who coaches the coaches, and if that's what it takes to get up to his standard, then so be it. I don't knock Armstrong for needing that coaching, and I don't knock Roberts for coming over and having to take that role. I think both can benefit each other, and I also think you'll see, that difference
if
within the defense.
now if you don't think these people, all the other fans talking about, oh, why would your DC need a head coach of the defense? If you don't
Mhm.
think Coach Muschamp and Kirby are coaching the last few DCs they've had at Georgia, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, and Saban the same way. I mean, you go down the list, and any guy that's successful isn't doing it by himself.
No, nobody can. All these coaches need help. They
Mm,
they reach out for help. They get assistance. All the coaches help each other
for
in
sure,
the building. You know,
for
um,
sure.
I just kind of mentioned some of the new coaches we got. I mean, we made a lot of changes on defense, rightfully
Mhm.
so. I think we needed to. I think Austin need to get some of his guys that he wanted in there to
Yeah,
help him out. Guys he can trust to know, like, hey, they're going to go there and they're going to develop them. They're going to coach them and they're going to be ready to go.
sure.
Uh, man, I'm kind of excited about Russ Callaway kind of getting the co-OC spot.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
I think it's interesting. I don't think Napier's given up the play calling by any means,
yeah,
but I do think Russ will get a shot at some point. I think his opinion's going to matter at some
mhm.
point this year about what we're going to run. Anything to help the head coach, I think. We got a new strength and nutrition program. I think that was a big deal
Mm,
to our players. We saw a lot of injuries at the end of last year, and even in the first year, we saw some crazy injuries towards the end of the year as well. So I'm
mm.
hoping they look different. They did like a 2 month little picture or whatever, and they look like their bodies are transforming. So it looks like the strength program's up and going.
Mm.
What are kind of your thoughts of the new coaches? Who do you think can make that instant impact this year out of all the new hires we got or new roles within?
I think the strength coach probably would make the most impact. I do like promoting Russ. Shout out to Russ Calloway. He follows me on Twitter because we're big time. No, him being a Valdosta State guy, it's cool to see as far as us because we're close to there. The co OC title, I don't think it means anything personally because Rob Sale had it and it didn't change anything. And when you talk to Billy, he says that he plans on keeping the play calling because that's as close as he can get to the game, and I think that's true. And I think a guy like himself is you know to be able to keep your identity on the team is something you got to do to call plays. I think realistically for me, he's going to be that passing coordinator because I mean he's an air raid guy, and if you go back and look at his tenures and even his dad's tenure when he played, I think he was the OL coach for Pat Dye, and that they're high flying, that's they're air raid guys, and I think when in 2011 when Billy met Callaway with under Saban, I think being able to work side by side, he kind of sees that. And for me, I think that's what it's going to be. I think Sale's going to be the run game coordinator per se, and I think Callaway will be that pass game coordinator, and kind of key in on that specific area. And Callaway's got that experience, so I think that's huge. As far as the other guys, man, the coaster coming from the Browns, I think you replace a guy like Stapleton who goes to the NFL, so you grab a guy from the NFL that after one leaves. I thought one interesting little nugget here for Florida fans with DeCoster is, he was a tackle at Louisiana, but he wasn't the tackle when Billy was there. So they both have Louisiana ties as well. We mentioned it before, but OL is important, um, not only to Billy but for the game itself, and to have two guys there can't hurt. The more the merrier. I really like the Will Harris hire. I think everything that I've seen from him is dynamic. I was really wrong on the last the last hire there, but I do think this one could have a major impact, especially coming from the pros. It's never a bad idea, and Billy seems to really be able to poach those guys from the NFL, and that's really wild to me, and I applaud him for it, and I think it's going to pay dividends, not only on the near future but in the program itself. You go into the living room of a DB and say, "Hey, look, man, like I've coached the best of the best. Like in the NFL, that's where your dreams are, and I've coached it." So to be able to say that and work alongside, I think every position, hire is going to be crucial. But as you mentioned before, I do think the strength coach is going to be the biggest. I wish we wouldn't have lost the first one, but
I know,
we'll
bro.
see.
Every time we take 3 steps forward, we take 2 steps backwards.
Yeah, and
It's like it's like we can't get rolling for nothing without something
yeah,
happening, man. Like we were rolling,
yeah, it's
and
one of those
then
double-edged swords, though. If you have a good coach, everybody's going to try to get him, and if you don't, you're gonna lose. So it's kind of one of those things. So it definitely tells you that Napier's he's making the right moves because if
you know,
if if you're poaching a guy that's only been here for 3 months, then he's doing something right.
yeah. We've had conversations with a few people, and they mention to us like, look, he's going after guys that can coach. He wants guys that can develop, and that's just not what we had the last
For
2
sure.
years. They were pretty good at recruiting, man. They just couldn't develop that well, and he wants guys that can do a little bit of both,
You do need both for sure.
and he really wants them to develop. more than anything because I think he kind of feels like in his eyes, like I can recruit them.
Yeah,
Y'all just got to coach them.
and he's proved that time and time again. So
Yeah. So I like the new coaches. I think we made some really good hires. I'm excited to see what Ron Roberts does with the defense for the defense and how he
mm,
can change it because it definitely needs to be improved. He
sure.
definitely improved Auburn's defense. Uh, but with that being said, man, we are bringing in some really good talent. We got some five-star talent finally to coming in, some really good five-star talent with DJ
Yeah.
Lagway and LJ McCray. We've kind of mentioned DJ a little bit already. Kind of talk about their impact on this, on the team and, kind of how big they're like how much impact they can make for the future for Florida.
Yeah, so, I mean, this class was shaping up to be very, very good. We lost some guys late, which is gonna happen, especially in the NIL world. He almost cracked the top 10, which, we don't live on, moral victories, but that's where you wanna be. Being able to keep DJ, man, is so big. I mean, you're talking about not only the number 1 guy in the, state, you're talking about the number 1 quarterback in the country. You're talking about a top 3 guy that, you know, he's gonna get all kind of comparisons, whether it be Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, whoever. But you can just tell that that guy's gonna be different, man. It's just one of those moments. You see a lot of kids and you're like, man, that guy's gonna be good, or this guy's gonna be good. You see very few times where you say that guy is different, and DJ's different. So I'm hoping we can hold on to him. Keeping LJ McRae locked in, that was huge as well. You know, I think those are two guys you look and say, if you can hold on to those, they're going to be key pieces for each side of the ball. Um, and there's all kind of names that you can list as far as you know, in that class itself. But one thing's for certain is, Billy does enjoy the recruiting side, and you can tell that. And I think when you bring in a guy like DJ Lagway and be able to keep him committed, for me at least, it tells me that, he trusts Billy. He trusts what he's saying. He trusts, his plan moving forward, because you don't go 5-7 and get the best quarterback in the country, without those things. And it is a mix of, at least I think is a mix of playing time with, what Billy is saying. But, you look at Billy's track record and what he did with AR and what he's, doing with Mertz, and I think it's an easy sell for DJ. Hey, look, you're 6'2", 230, and the ball just flies off his hand. And it's like, if I can mold you within those 3 or 4 years, Mertz is here to be that leader, and he's gonna sit behind him and probably learn bukus. And I think that's huge for DJ. But just the talent alone, is, that's huge. To pull a QB out of Texas, man, is that one that everybody's wanting, everybody's talking about. That's major props to Billy and team. And, I know there's countless, restless hours that go into that. So that class is huge, and especially it starts up there with DJ for me.
Yeah, I think this was probably our best class that we've had thus far, just from top to bottom, the most
Yeah.
talented one. Especially because you do have the number one quarterback in the country. Thank the
Mhm.
Lord, Arch Manning went to Texas because I don't
Yeah.
know if we'd be having this conversation
Yeah.
right now. Because it is hard to pull those quarterbacks out of Texas when you do have the Longhorns over there.
And they've been a thorn in our side as far as recruiting goes. Texas is like, every time we get a guy that we want, whether it be, X or somebody else, it feels like they're
Oh, they'll
coming,
just
they're
come in
trying to
and
come get them.
bloop,
They're like,
last
hey,
second.
it's
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. LJ, dude, I know me and you were so worried about it.
Yeah.
I was texting you every day, sending you screenshots. One of our buddies, Logan, was getting on my nerves, sending me Auburn updates because it was a fight to keep him. And I'm
Yeah.
glad he's a Florida Gator. I think he's probably going to have a little bit more of an impact this year
Sure.
because of his position. And, I think it's good, though, for DJ to have Graham. I think Graham's going to teach him how to prepare for the game.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that Graham could probably do better than him when it comes
Well,
to
it
throwing and being an athlete.
yeah, and I
But
mean, that position is not one you want a freshman just taking in. You know,
not in
that's
that not that schedule. You do not.
yeah, you gotta groom that one a little bit. I do think we'll see him, but I just don't it won't
I
be
dude,
it won't be in a sense of us
it's
sitting there
gonna
screaming.
be it's gonna be like the Chris Leak Tim Tebow thing. The
Yeah.
crowd is going to want to see him play.
We're gonna
You're
hear
gonna ha-
that for
you're
all
gonna
of
have
season, dude.
people painted up as Lagway in the stadium. Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
They're gonna have his jersey everywhere.
yeah,
It is what it is, you
yeah,
know. And Graham understands that. He knows, and it's going. I think he's a team player. He's going to be
yeah,
okay with DJ coming in and running a few plays. And
yeah,
honestly, I want to see it too myself. I want to see him go out there and play a little bit, and I
yeah.
think it'll be good. Um,
I just
you
don't
know,
want that Emory AR situation as far
I
as
don't either. I don't want
the schedule's
anybody.
tough, man. If he starts to struggle, I don't wanna hear throw DJ in. You know what I mean? Like, Graham's proven himself, and I think, you're gonna have those ups and downs, especially at the quarterback position, and if he starts to struggle in a game, I don't wanna just throw Graham to the side. That's my biggest thing is DJ is the future, and I get that, and I wanna see him play, and that we're gonna see him play. I just I think it's
No,
important to remember that, you do have an experienced guy in Graham.
I just want to see DJ in packages where he can be successful. I don't want to throw
Yeah,
him out there because Graham's having a two interception game and we're down by 7. That's when
yeah,
you want to keep Graham out there to let him get us out of this hole that we dug ourselves into. And you don't want to throw DJ out there and expect him just to fix everything because that's not going to happen.
yeah,
And I mean, we talked about it. This schedule is brutal. And you
mhm,
don't want him to go out there and lose his confidence this early. And then we have to try to build it back up the
yeah.
next year. Um, but with that being said, man, we I'm gonna end it with these two questions, and that way, Florida fans or anybody that's watching this, maybe they'll hear a name on this podcast tonight, and maybe if they can, they remember they'll be able to hear these names in September.
Sure.
So instant impacts on Saturday that didn't make an impact last year. They could be on the roster last year, but they didn't quite play. Or maybe it is an upcoming freshman. Who do you think can make an instant impact?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go first.
I think instant impact for me, I'd have to go, Shamir Dyke. I think, we've already mentioned him before, but bringing him in, a senior guy who is, who knows Graham knows him. Losing Ricky is, I mean, that's going to hurt. He was a lot of the offense, whether he was targeted or not targeted. Even if he was, just that guy that gets, the DB off of him, I think is huge, man. And he started all 13 games last season. Um, when you think about Billy's offense, you think run scheme and you think running backs. But I think that position is deep, man. And I think, we mentioned on how the wide receiver group is young, and they are talented, but they are young. And to bring a guy like Dyke in that, who's a leader on that squad as far as, a senior dude is going to be huge. And like I said, replacing Ricky, you match him with Trey Wilson, and I think it could be, really, really crucial for the offense. So for me, I think Dyke is going to be my instant impact guy.
I'm not going to go too far away from that position. It is one of mine is a wide receiver, and I have a DL. I think your Dyke and Trey are going to help my guy have an instant impact, and that's Andy Jean.
Mm,
I think he's going to have an instant impact on the
I love Gene,
offense.
dude.
I think we expected him to do a little bit more last year, but he got a little banged up. So I think this is going to be his year. He's going to be probably the third guy
Mm,
out of the three of them, but I think that's what's going to help him be that instant impact guy. Is he's not going to have the main corner on him,
yeah.
so he's going to be able to get open. He's going to be able to make plays. And then my next one, he is going to be a freshman. It's going to be LJ McCray. I think on the defensive end position, he's going to be able to get to the quarterback. All he's going to be asked to do is rush the quarterback. I'm sure they'll have him do some other things. If he keeps getting bigger, they're going to have to move him inside.
Yeah, because
But
he's pushing 300. He's like 275.
yeah, but he's starting to transform his body. He's starting to add some muscle to him.
Mhm.
Needed him to keep his speed,
Yeah, I
but
need him to get a little faster, but
yeah,
I agree.
but I think those two guys can kind of make an instant impact immediately.
Mhm.
Um, but now let's talk about the dark horse guys. These are guys maybe nobody's talking about. That we nobody just even maybe the average Gator fan doesn't know, and then when we come to like the end of September, they'll be like, "Man, that guy's really good." Who's a dark horse guy that you think can maybe
Man,
make an impact for us?
there's so many different, like I feel like there's so many different routes you could take on this, and I hate to go offense again, so I'll try to go offense and defense. But for me, Jaden Ball, man, if you look at him, the running back that flipped from Arkansas, really big guy, and he looks like him and Montreal could be a duo. And we mentioned how deep that group is, and maybe he doesn't even get to that two spot. I don't know because you got Webb and them other guys. But I think with what Billy likes to do, I think he could be a name that really pops. On the other side for me is Denton, man, and we saw a little bit of him last year, but not enough to really for him to break out. Sharif is a guy that was in our backyard as far as in Jacksonville. We kept Bam away, and he's been everything and more, as far as that from that young DB group. I think with Will Harris coming in and being able to really coach him up, I think he could be a really impact guy as far as, what we need from that defense because we lost a lot on the DL, and somebody could say Boone or maybe Sapp is a guy that you look at, but for me, I'm a big corner guy, man. I love corners, and I think that you watch Denson and he looks all the part, and I'm just excited to watch him and Jakeem Jackson. So I'm gonna go dark horse is Denson that we'll hear his name more than not come come the end.
I like your guys that you picked there. I think Denson is a really good one. Um, you know, Jaden Ball is a really good one. He was on my list as well. I got to see him up close and personal.
Bro,
Um,
he's
he
huge.
played he played for Columbia up in Atlanta. They're in the same region that the school I work at. And if they would have had some more depth, they would have beat Callaway. Dude, he was unreal.
Bro,
He was so
they
good.
played him at running back, quarterback, wide receiver, corner, safety. I think
Dude,
he returned. Like, literally, he played everything.
and dude, here's the deal. When they were recruiting him, it didn't even click until like I looked at him and I said, "Dang,
Yeah,
we played him." Like I didn't even
yeah,
think when we were playing him that Florida even had a chance to get him.
yeah.
And we beat Bama out for him, so he's obviously a really good player. But
I
Jaden
think that
Ball,
was the 2 it was down to.
yeah, Jaden Ball is one of mine. Also, this is a kid I've seen play up close and personal as well. But I saw him play in the 7-on-7 at Trinity. Is Aaron Gates? Not a lot of people are
Mm,
talking about him.
yeah,
I'm not sure where he is on the depth chart right now, but I know he's a Billy type of kid. He stuck through the coaching change regardless. He was
yeah,
always committed. He's
mhm,
been there. He's been grinding. I think if he gets an opportunity, he can make some plays.
yeah.
Super athletic. Can really honestly, he can play both sides of the ball. I'm really excited where they stick him. Um,
He's the one
with
that,
them bringing in,
he's the one that stopped that two-point conversion. He had,
yeah.
like, 4 I think he had, like, 4 or 5 games on special teams. So, Billy's working him. It's just a matter of getting to that DB spot, so,
So if you haven't heard of Aaron Gates yet, just know he's a stud. If he sticks around and when it's his time, he's going to shine. And then my next guy, if he can get healthy, he is going to be a stud. And it's Cam Carroll, running back, transferred from Tulane. I'm
we
telling
saw
you,
him up close too when we went to
yes,
LSU.
dude, his legs and his butt is so big. He looks like he's ready to run a
I
four
like
four,
Bi
dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and
Dude, let
I
me tell
think
you
he's a
something.
guy I think he's also a guy that, the group is so deep, man. The group is it's deep, and I think, you look at a guy like that, and he's got that drive about him. He's, coming from Tulane. Um, I'd like to see how he bounces back from that injury for sure.
Crazy prediction. We're not even gonna miss ETN. The production's gonna be there.
And you bring up ETN, and for me, I think it's something you need to hit on with the podcast. With I think it was a crappy move, man. I don't hate him. I don't wish the worst on him. I think you can go to any school in the country and that you chose the wrong one. Not because of success, because they've had all the
There's
success. There's just that
there's
one. Nobody does that, man. Like
no.
Herschel Walker back in the day does not leave for Florida. Tim Tebow's not leaving for Georgia. Like Barry from Tennessee isn't bouncing to Alabama. Like these guys are just different nowadays, man. And it really hurts my heart to see a guy like that really could have made his legacy as a Gator, whether he breaks records or not. We got you out of Louisiana, and you buy into Billy's plan, and you're part of that success where you're running back 1/2. You get the same amount of touches, and I hope we don't miss him. I do agree. I don't think I don't think it's going to be as big of an impact because that group is so deep, but it cuts you, man, because you know you
It's
see
just
everything that Billy's dealing with and stuff like that. It's like you can't even if you're having to recruit your own guys, man. At this point, it's just I just don't
well,
like it.
some of his reasons were kind of like you want to be running back one. Well, you went to one of the places where the running back room is loaded.
Yeah,
It's just like you're going to be in the same situation. They're going to
it's
be
just that Kevin
sharing.
Durant type feel, man. You just want to
Yeah,
go to the Warriors and say, "I won a ring," or "I went here and I did this," and I just don't like it, man. Because for me, if I'm a player, and it's easy for us to say this, right? I'm not in this situation. I don't know his family. I don't know anything that he's dealing with. But for me, not even because it's my favorite team. It's just the thought of my end goal is to get to the league. Whether we win 1 game or 50 games, I can do that based off of my drive, my will, my production, blah, blah, blah. If you're third on the depth chart and you're saying these things, okay, I get it. If you're not getting any touches and you say, "Hey, I want to go to whatever." But man, you're part of the highlight of that offense. And I just think it was a crappy move, man, and
he
I
was
want
he,
it's a
he
bad
was
taste.
literally the guy the last half of the season.
Sure,
So
and
you can't say you were running back two the whole time because the last part you were running back one and
they both had different, upside to him. Like, he was more of a red zone guy that he's gonna slip and slide and do what he needs to do. He's got good speed, and but when those pass coverages come, he's not in there. And you see Montrell, who's more of that bruiser type back that, if he gets outside, yeah, he can take off. But they really complemented each other good. And it hurts to see that, you
first of
know,
all, if I'm a linebacker, I see Montreal coming at me as like a run blocker, I'm getting out the way because
yeah.
he's going to put it on you because he
I
can
just
actually
hope
run
I
block.
hope one of those linebackers, man, I hope they pull a Brandon Spikes and just lay him out, dude.
Oh, he
Just
he
once.
he
I mean, I don't want
he.
no injuries, nothing like that. I just want him to just
Nah,
feel that
I,
for us.
I want him to have the ball too. I don't want him to be he's blocking and they lay him out. I want him to be he gets the carry and they boom stick him and then we can
All
move
the
on.
schools, man. You can go
And
to literally any other school. He goes to Tennessee and we say, "Man, that was a crappy move." You go to freaking Georgia and it's just you're forever
as
wanting to be hated.
as a Florida fan, there's two schools that you don't transfer to, and that's FSU and Georgia.
Yeah,
You just don't go to those two schools. Those are our two biggest rivals. It's a slap in the face. And then your reason is because you want to win. It's another slap in the face. But dude, I could go on this all night.
for
You
sure.
know that. We could talk about this all day. I mean, we talk about it 24/7.
Yeah.
Uh, but with that being said, we are going to end the episode. A few reminders, please subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Instagram. as we do like to post little clips from our videos. And please go watch our campus tours. We do have another campus tour coming up in August 31st. I think we're going to go check out that Florida Miami game, man, and let everybody kind of see the swamp from our point of view. Hopefully it's rowdy. Hopefully we get some better weather this
Oh, it's
time
gonna be crazy, dude.
from the last time we went. I think this game's going to be absolutely crazy. Uh, I hope we can like catch on film the magnitude of the swamp because this game is going to be different because it's the
Yeah.
Miami game. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and we don't see them as often as we probably should. Some of the smack talk that's going around, whether it was true or not, it's gonna be huge. And we're only a month away from the spring game, man. So we're getting there
I know we'll get there before we know it. Well,
for
Cody,
sure.
man, I appreciate you joining us. I had fun, dude. Um,
Always
make sure you guys join us when we do another Florida episode. We're going to do the schedule breakdown. It'll probably be during the summer when we talk about that brutal schedule. And you never know. We'll see what me and Cody pick on our win total this year. I don't know if we'll be over or under.
undefeated,
So
baby.
appreciate you guys listening, tuning in. Remember, go like, subscribe, share our videos. Thank you guys very much.